On October 8, 2025, a single light in a Colombian industrial park exposed one of the largest narcotics syndicates in modern history. What began as a rusted garage led the FBI and US Navy to uncover a $5 billion criminal empire spanning 3 continents. This is the true account of Operation Silent Harbor, the joint mission that dismantled an industrial-scale drug pipeline before it reached American shores. October 8, 2025. Envigado, Colombia. US Naval Intelligence had tracked a network that could destabilize an entire region. On a neglected industrial site outside the city, a deteriorating garage sat surrounded by unmarked trucks and stacks of metal scrap. Behind its corroded doors, 5 underground reactors operated non-stop, refining both cocaine and methamphetamine at industrial volumes. For 3 months, the FBI, working in tandem with Colombia's Policía Nacional, had followed the trail through encrypted communications, shell companies, and anonymous freight manifests. Each data point, every transaction, phone tap, and satellite image pointed back to this location. The garage was not what it seemed. At 2:05 a.m. on that quiet night, a surveillance team observed faint light bleeding from beneath the steel door. To locals, it looked like a workshop repairing trucks. Inside, it was a chemical refinery disguised as a garage, producing some of the purest methamphetamine ever recorded, 99.3% purity, an unprecedented level for any operation in South America. Beneath the cracked concrete floor sat 5 stainless steel reactors, each more than 2 meters tall and capable of refining over 2,000 pounds of methamphetamine every week. Together, they generated product worth $1.6 billion annually at street value, enough narcotics to saturate multiple US cities for an entire year. The site was controlled by the Clan del Golfo, Colombia's most violent and organized cartel. Its influence stretched from Medellin through Venezuela's western coast. Investigators later found barrels of methylamine, disguised exhaust systems used for ventilation, and even a concealed tunnel leading directly to a nearby riverbank, an exit for smuggling shipments across the border into Venezuela. Electrical meters had been tampered with to hide the heavy energy consumption from the reactor array. Every aspect of the site indicated industrial precision, not improvisation. This was an operation built for continuous output, functioning as part of a larger production network hidden in plain sight. At 2:15 a.m., agents realized that unless they intervened immediately, another 2 to 3 tons of pure narcotics would leave the site by dawn. Surveillance imagery confirmed trucks arriving every 3 weeks, each potentially carrying thousands of pounds of processed meth toward coastal staging points. Over the next 48 hours, between October 8th and October 10th, investigators pieced together the full map of operations. FBI analysts, Colombian cyber units, and Naval Intelligence integrated satellite imagery, GPS telemetry, and encrypted chats. The findings revealed a cross-border network that blended industrial logistics with military-style coordination. Financial analysts traced wire transfers to shell companies in Panama and Curacao. GPS data from vehicles showed routes leading from Envigado toward Venezuela's Gulf of Paria. CCTV footage from small ports along the Gulf of Coro confirmed sightings of white box trucks matching those used at the lab, appearing again 2 days later at an isolated river landing. Each maritime shipment carried approximately 4,000 pounds, 1,814 kilograms of finished methamphetamine sealed in industrial crates, departing every 3 weeks. A single load could yield over $200 million in US street value. Projections indicated an annual throughput exceeding 20,000 kilograms, roughly $5 billion in narcotics production per year. Naval Intelligence detected 2 vessels operating in parallel off Venezuela's coast, a freighter and a smaller support ship, both following predictable nighttime routes to rendezvous with small boats for transfers. The evidence confirmed the network's SAL, an integrated land-sea supply chain with cartel and paramilitary cooperation, likely backed by Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan syndicate known for transnational operations. By the night of October 10th, the mission objective had shifted from observation to interdiction. The task was no longer to confirm the threat. It was to dismantle it. At 1:30 a.m. on October 11th, heavy fog covered the industrial district of Envigado. Inside the garage, generators powered the reactor lines as cartel guards monitored surveillance screens. Then came the order over encrypted comms: execute. Within seconds, 52 personnel moved in. FBI hostage rescue team, Colombia's Grupo de Operaciones Especiales, and US Navy observers positioned offshore. At 1:31 a.m., a shaped breaching charge tore through the garage's steel doors. Entry teams stormed the facility, encountering immediate resistance. For 47 seconds, automatic gunfire echoed through the compound. Cartel gunmen, armed with AK-103 rifles and Uzi submachine guns, fired from behind chemical tanks. A stray bullet hit a high-pressure steam line, triggering a partial explosion that ignited several chemical drums. Despite the heat and dense smoke, agents advanced methodically, clearing each corner. One U.S. Navy SEAL attached to the observation unit was struck by shrapnel, but continued to cover his team's movement. After 7 minutes of combat, all gunmen were neutralized or detained. Behind a false wall, agents uncovered a sealed concrete vault. Inside were 6,000 pounds of crystal meth packaged as autofilters. Laboratory analysis valued the seizure at $480 million, nearly 30 million individual doses. Nearby, 5 men were found chained near the reactor line, victims of forced labor suffering severe chemical burns. By dawn, the factory was secured. The site's capacity was later confirmed at over 120,000 pounds annually, a billion-dollar industrial narcotics complex hidden under the guise of an auto repair shop. The codename Operation Silent Harbor was transmitted across all channels. But even as agents cataloged the evidence, intelligence pointed to an imminent maritime transfer already in motion. The same network was attempting to complete a shipment offshore near Venezuela's Gulf of Paria. At 3:02 a.m., the operation expanded to the Caribbean. 2 vessels, including a rusted freighter named San Miguel, were preparing to exchange cargo at sea. Data extracted from seized phones pinpointed their position, 35 nautical miles off Venezuela's coast. The freighter carried more than 4,000 pounds of methamphetamine, worth approximately $80 million. The US Navy and Colombian Coast Guard had been monitoring the ships via infrared surveillance. The USS Wichita, a littoral combat ship, coordinated with a P-8A Poseidon patrol aircraft to track their movement. Accompanying the freighter were 2 speedboats crewed by Tren de Aragua enforcers armed with mounted machine guns. At 3:19 a.m., a US Navy MH-60R Seahawk helicopter illuminated the sea surface with its searchlight. The cartel gunboats opened fire, tracing red arcs of tracer rounds through the dark air. The Seahawk returned suppressive fire with its GAU-21 heavy machine gun, disabling one of the boats. Below, 2 RHIB, rigid-hulled inflatable boat, teams advanced at over 40 knots toward the freighter. Within 8 minutes, they boarded San Miguel under heavy fire. Flashbangs and grenades cleared the deck as cartel members attempted to ignite cargo to destroy evidence. The engagement ended at 3:47 a.m. with all hostiles detained. Aboard the freighter, agents discovered 2,100 pounds of methamphetamine sealed in steel drums and another 1,900 pounds floating nearby, jettisoned in a failed attempt to conceal evidence. The combined seizure exceeded $350 million in street value. 17 cartel members were taken into custody. The freighter burned on the horizon as dawn approached. In less than 72 hours, a covert investigation had escalated into a multinational interdiction involving ground combat, maritime pursuit, and aerial surveillance. By October 12th, the seized ships and destroyed facilities represented a decisive disruption in the network's logistics chain. Prisoners were transferred to the USS Wichita, where encrypted storage drives were recovered from San Miguel's control room. Once decrypted at the FBI's Miami field office, the drives revealed 2.4 terabytes of financial records, encrypted communications, and logistics data. The files mapped a vast transnational network connecting Colombia's Clan del Golfo and Venezuela's Tren de Aragua as joint operators of a multinational narcotics syndicate. The recovered data showed 51 offshore accounts, 7 shell corporations, and financial transfers exceeding $93 million routed through banks in Panama, Curacao, and Hong Kong. It confirmed that the Envigado factory was one of 4 identical facilities across Colombia and Venezuela, each producing roughly $400 million worth of methamphetamine monthly. Had they continued operating, the combined network could have generated up to $5 billion annually, comparable to the GDP of a small country. The human element of the investigation was equally stark. Testimonies from the 5 rescued laborers revealed systemic exploitation. The workers had been trafficked across borders, earning less than $15 per week and forced to handle hazardous chemicals without protective equipment. Some suffered burns down to the bone. Their accounts reinforced the scale of coercion behind the operation's industrial facade. By October 15th, coordinated follow-up raids in Colombia and Venezuela resulted in the seizure of 9 vessels, freezing of over 70 bank accounts, and multiple arrests of financial intermediaries. Colombia's president declared the action a turning point in the fight against chemical warfare disguised as commerce. For U.S. agencies, the message was clear. The cartels were no longer small-scale criminal groups. They had evolved into industrial conglomerates, with laboratories, shipping fleets, and accountants managing billion-dollar flows. As dawn broke over the Caribbean, smoke still rose from the wreckage of San Miguel. Operation Silent Harbor had eliminated a major component of an international narcotics syndicate. More than 10,000 pounds of high-purity meth had been seized, a network spanning 3 continents disrupted, and human victims rescued from forced labor. Yet, the implications went further. The operation revealed a new model of organized crime, one that blurred the lines between trafficking, corporate logistics, and chemical manufacturing. The modern drug war was no longer fought solely in jungles or city streets. It now extended into data servers, shipping lanes, and financial systems. America's response required not just firepower, but persistence. Vigilance against emerging industrial-scale narcotics operations would determine whether such networks could ever rise again. For the agents and sailors involved, success was not defined by celebration, but by the simple fact that millions of doses would never reach American cities. The mission ended not in triumph, but in duty fulfilled, a coordinated strike that proved one principle: even in the open ocean, there is no place to hide from accountability. As the Caribbean sun rose higher, the last plume of smoke faded from the horizon. The ocean had swallowed one more empire built on addiction and coercion. And for those who fought to dismantle it, the silence that followed was the sound of a victory that would never make headlines, but changed the course of a war fought far from view.